we're going to solve a slightly different type than the last couple, simply because all three variables don't show up in all three equations. This takes a little bit of work. In addition, this particular problem, we are not going to use the elimination method. We're going to use substitution method in this case, at least initially. So it's going to be a combination of elimination and substitution. We're going to substitute first. So let's get started. Oh, let's start with something colorful and brown. Let's go blue. So we're going to take the last two. And the reason I'm taking the last two is because both of those, if you look at carefully, have a variable that doesn't have a coefficient. So the q in the second one and the p in the third one. So I chose those because when I solve for q in the second one, I'm going to get q equals 7r plus 4. And p in the third one, I get p equals 6q plus 1. Okay. Now, here's what this does. Now, if I look at my top equation, which is 3p plus 2r, I'm going to take the 6q plus 1 and substitute it right in there. So I'm going to have 3p plus, or 3 times, excuse me, 6q plus 1 plus 2r equals 11. And then I'm just going to use the second one because that also has q and r. So I got q minus 7r equals 4. Now if I simplify the top equations, I'm going to do a couple of steps in one here, just because I've got kind of limited real estate. So I'm going to distribute, combine like terms, and move the q's and r's on the left, keep the q's and r's on the left, and everything else goes on the right. So 18q plus 2r, 3 times 1 is 3, subtract it from 11, and you get 8. So now why did I do this? Because my second equation already has q and r in it. Now if you take a look, you might notice that I cannot just simply add these two. So now we're going to switch and use the elimination method. So our first step was substitution. We did that here. And our second step is we're going to use elimination. And what we're going to do is, it's going to be a big number, but we're going to eliminate by multiplying by negative 18. That way I only have to multiply one equation. Okay, so I'm going to move this down ever so slightly. And I've got my original equation right here. I'm going to move that down. 18q, well, not my original, but after I did my substitution. And now I'm going to use my new one that I got. I'm multiplying by negative 18q. Negative 18 times negative 7, positive 126. I did that in my head because, you know, I'm a math teacher. Okay, negative 18 times 4 is negative 72. I'm going to move this down a little bit more again. And when we do that, let's come up with a different color. Let's go purple. Ooh. My voice cracked again. 2 plus 126 is 128r. 8 plus negative 72. Whoa, hello. Come on back. There we go. Is negative 64. Divide by 128. It looks nasty, but this does work out to be just negative 1/2. Keep in mind, remember, it's the numerator divided by denominator, not the other way around. So now I'm going to take that negative 1/2. I'm going to plug it all the way back up into my top equation. Where do we want to put that in there? Oh, let's put it in right the second equation, because that's already solved. That's already got the r in it. So let me move this back up a little bit, just so we can see both those. Yep, that'll work. So now plug it in. There, all right. So q equals 7 times negative 1/2 plus 4. Well, half of 7 is negative, or half of 7 is 3.5. So negative half of 7 is negative 3.5. So q is negative 1/2. This is looking good. Okay. Oh, positive 1/2, because negative 3.5 plus 4 is really the same as 4 minus 3.5. I shall slow down my speaking. I get so excited when I'm solving problems. Okay. Let's go black. Here we go. So then the last part is, let's see, I got R solved for, I got Q solved for. Now I got to go back and solve for P. Right here. P equals 6 times my Q value, which I just found was 1/2, plus 1. So half of 6 is 3. 3 plus 1 is 4. The answer is 4. Now, of course, I'm skipping a critical step here. I've skipped it in the last 2 problems, but in this problem, I'm actually going to show it. The check! The check! That's what you're missing. Put the check in. Okay. So, let's move. All right. So, my first equation was 3p plus 2r equals 11. So my p value, which I just found, was 4. My r value, which is negative 1/2, and we're seeing if that equals 11. So that's 12. Half of 2 is 1. So negative 1/2 is minus 1. Hey, that one works. Done. Yay! Not done. I have to check in all 3 equations. All right. So check the second one. So Q, which we just figured out to be 1/2. So 1/2 minus 7 times R, which is negative 1/2. Does that equal question mark 4? Let's see. Half of 7 is 3.5. So negative times negative is also 3.5. So it's 1/2 plus 3.5 is indeed equal to 4. One more. Okay. Let's see. 3 equations. Hey, the third equation. So last but not least, P, which we found to be 4, minus 6 times Q, which we found to be 1/2. Does that equal question mark 1? Well, that's 4. Half of 6 is 3. 4 minus 3. Yay! There was much rejoicing in the land. All right. I'm going to move it back up so I can put my answer smack dab in the middle of all this stuff. Let's see. Haven't picked a color yet. Ooh, my favorite. Green. Okay. So my P value was 4. My Q value was 1/2. And R value is negative 1/2. Notice, did this in alphabetical order. And that is that. Done.